Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Zhao Wenxuan. Today our group will talk about global trade. Let's get started. We've divided the presentation into four parts. In the first part, I will introduce the background of globalization and tell you what is globalization and the content structure of our presentation. In the second part, my partner Lu Yuanbing will talk about benefits of global trade for developing and developed countries. In the third part, my partner Shen Yixi will talk about the impact of COVID-19 on global trade. In the last part, my partner Zhao Yongcheng will do a summary and speculate on the future of development of global trade. Let me begin by looking at the introduction. The first subtopic is background. Let's move on. After World War II, global trade began to develop. Markets in different parts of the world have gradually sprung up. Global trade has brought benefits and challenges to developed and developing countries. Globalization impact on developing and developed countries has become one of the most critical issues. Let's move on. The second subtopic of introduction is definition. What is globalization? Globalization is the word used to describe the growing interdependence of the world's economies, cultures, and populations, brought about by cross-border trade in goods and services, technologies, and flows of investment, people, and information. What is economic globalization example? Free trade agreements, such as the North American Free Trade Agreement and the Trans-Pacific Partnership, are examples of economic globalization. Multinational corporations which operate in two or more countries play a large role in economic globalization. What is global trade? Global trade is the exchange of goods or services between countries and is made up of the total imports and exports of each participating nation. It is governed by supply and demand and relies on that supply and demand to determine the price of each product or service sold. The definition part is over. Now let's move on. Next, I will tell you our presentation structure. The first step is benefits of global trade for developing and developed country. Under the current international system, developed and developing countries are two different types of countries, and the impact of global trade on them is different. The second step is the impact of COVID-19 on global trade. The COVID-19 pandemic has severely impacted the world's economy. The world's major economies have been hit varying degrees, and global trade has stalled. The last step is the conclusion. The conclusion is about the future of global trade. For a long time, emergencies such as public health or even war will not affect globalization. For a short time, the future of globalization depends on the development of COVID-19 prevention and control. My part is over. Next part will be explained by my partner Lu Yuanbing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, my partner. My name is Lu Yuanbing. Today, I will be discussing the advantages of the global trade for both developed and developing countries. First, look at the developed countries' benefits. The third one, access to a large market for goods and services Developed countries that engaged in global trade can access new markets and customers in other countries, which can increase the demand for their goods and service. The second one, increase the competition, which can lead to increased efficiency and innovation. Developed countries that compete with other countries in the global marketplace may be motivated to improve their products and service in order to stay competitive. The last one, ability to, the third one, sorry, ability to source raw materials and goods at the low cost. Developed countries can import raw materials and goods from other countries at a low cost than if they were to produce them domestically. The last one, facilitation of the cultural exchange and understanding between countries. Global trade can facilitate cultural exchange and understanding between countries as people from different countries interact and learn from one another through business and trade. So the developing countries, the number one, creation of the jobs and income opportunities. Global trade can lead to the creation of the jobs in industries such as manufacturing, transportation, and logistics. This can help to decrease unemployment and increase income opportunities for citizens of the country. The number two, improve living standards through increased access to goods and service. Developing countries become more integrated into the global economy. Citizens may have access to a greater variety of the goods and the service, which can improve their standard of living. The last one, opportunity to specializing in certain industries or products. Developing country may have comparative advantages in certain industries or products, such as agriculture or textiles. Through global trade, they can take advantage of these comparative advantages by specializing in these industries and exporting their products or to other countries. So this page, there are some same benefits. The first, access to new technologies and ideas from other customers, other countries, developed countries and developed countries can learn about new technologies and ideas from other countries through global trade, which can help to improve their own industries and economy. The second one, diversification of the export market and the products. They developed countries that rely heavily on exporting one product to the one market may be maybe vulnerable to fluctuation in demand or changes in trade policies. But by diversifying their export markets and the products, they can reduce this vulnerability. The last one, greater resilience to economic downturns. Developed countries and the developing countries that are more integrated into the global economy may be less affected by economic downturns in one specific countries or region. So this page is an example. So look at the developed countries from Germany. So Germany is the world's largest exporter of the goods and has a strong manufacturing sector. Through global trade, German companies have been able to access new markets and customers in other countries. This has increased the demand for German goods and services, resulting in higher revenues and economic growth. Additionally, Germany has been able to specialize in industries where it has a comparative advantage, such as in the export of the automobiles and the machinery. As a result of this specialization, German companies have been able to improve the efficiency and quality of their products So, which can help them to become even more competitive in the global marketplace. So the second developing countries from Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is developing countries with a large population and a growing economy. The country has a strong textile and clothing industry, which can being able to take advantage of the global trade to access new markets and customers in other countries. This has a led to increased revenue and economic growth for the country. Additionally, the Bangladesh government has implemented policy to attract the foreign investment, which has developed to modernize its manufacturing sector and create new jobs. As a result of these factors, Bangladesh has been able to reduce poverty and improve the standard of the living for these citizens. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shen Yixi. My part for this presentation is the impact of COVID-19 on global trade. First, we look at the situation of global trade affected by COVID-19. The global outbreak of COVID-19 in 2021 has significantly impacted the global economy and the trade in the past year. It has had devastating health and economic consequences, with unprecedented disruption to people's lives and the global economy and the world trade. It is true that during this period that the epidemic prevailed, the trade types of all industry were more or less affected. Some suffered a huge blow, and some seized the opportunity to advance rapidly and grow at an amazing rate. This is the figure of the situation of the changes in the global trade that are affected by the COVID-19. So this figure clearly shows the sharp contraction in trade volume during 2020 to 2021. We can see from here there is a huge decrease in this period, and then the damage to the global trade caused by COVID-19 is devastating, and subsequently the trade recovered from the March of 2021 as a result of a new wave of demand in goods and supply. Next, we see some examples of the types of international trade affected by the COVID-19. First is the passenger transport industry. And the next one is the construction industry. Both of them are negatively affected by the COVID-19. So the report shows that the recovery of the air passenger transport industry continues to stagnate and remain below the pre-pandemic level. And the global spending by international travelers in the third quarters of 2021 increased by 54%, but still below the 2019 figure, even just the half of the figure in 2019. So for the construction industry, the global construction export fell 18% in 2020 and 12% in the first three quarters of 2021 compared with the same period in 2019. The European Union and China, who are the world's largest builders, saw their construction export fall by 19% and 4% respectively in 2019. Next one, the computer services industry and the normal in the service industry. For the computer services industry, it continued to grow significantly in the first three quarters of 2021, with a cumulative increase of 34% over the same period in 2019. The rapid growth was seen in both developed and developing countries. The computer services export of the US increased by 29% and 42% in Mauritius, and 51% in Ireland, 63% in Ukraine, and 68% in Bangladesh. And the internet service peaked during this pandemic. The International Telecommunication Union estimates that the global international internet bandwidth grew by 30% in 2021. And for the service industry, according to the latest data, the cumulative value of service export from January to November 2021 remained below 2019 level in many economies, with Australia recording the biggest decline of 35%. Next, we see the profound influence that COVID-19 brings on international trade. For the effect of the COVID-19, the economy, the COVID-19 accelerated the digitization of the economy. Then the export and import restrictions can be minimized. Subsequently, it can increase the total volume of the global trade. Finally, the spatial and time constraints and physical space constraints for international trade are broken. So the result as a whole is that more trade models will appear in this new digital economy, which will help the economy to diversify. That's all of my part.
And at last, I will going to conclude about our presentation. And the global of the trade link everyone economy together, giving them better opportunity to grow their economy, making life and work richer. The previous article discussed the origin of trade globalization, which shows the inevitability of trade globalization, and everyone needs to adopt to this development. And the first part of the future of global conversation, the first one, transnational groups are becoming international trade entities. For entities, if you want to ensure more stable development and maintain competitive advantage in international trade, they must make full use of overseas advantage resources, so as to control the cost of production and operation input a managed range, and the enterprise can obtain greater economic benefit. And then is the international trade have graduated become mainstream trend of international trade. After the arrival of era of electronic economy, international trade have undergone obvious change, and the network trade has graduated become the mainstay. As we all know, the advantage of network trade are obvious. In addition, great improving of the effective of trade, its cost can be controlled within a reasonable range. And the last part, which is the integration of economic globalization of politics, with the continuous allocation of economic globalization, various countries attach great importance to international economy and trade, hoping can opportunity favors position in the international market so as to greatly improve their nation status. These are all of part of our presentation. Thanks for your listening.